We are Linnea and Akela. For the last 2 years, we've been living full-time out of our self-converted camper van named Togo. And while you can usually find us in the mountains or canyons of the western desert, this winter we are doing something a bit different. With Chris and Kobuk by our sides, we will be braving the Northwoods, Wisconsin winter. Let's just say we have a lot of prep ahead of us before we settle in to northern Wisconsin by the end of November. We are officially settled in Kansas, and this is my lovely view now when I open my door. The time here has actually been really great. I've been maintaining my routine of greens and coffee and reading. And on Saturday, Chris and I went to a beautiful farmer's market. It was at that farmer's market that I bought these delicious culinary lavender buds. I've done this with fresh lavender for years during the summer months, so I was really excited to get my hands on this cute little jar of buds. As for the next few days, we have a lot of work to get done. The main priority is to can ready-made meals for the winter. So today we are focusing on making chili. But before we dive into canning today, there are a few other things that I've kind of been putting off and I just want to button up.
Our poor little basil plants have had a hard time in all the different places we've been traveling. They've been really scorched. Definitely time for a new home though, so I'm gonna go ahead and replant them. Alright, moving on to a huge batch of chili. Basically, I'm just going to keep it super simple. And what I love about almost all of the ingredients that we'll be using is that we got these from the local farmer's market. We purchased a big flat of tomatoes that didn't have any pesticides on them, so we're leaving the skins on. We're just going to dice them up and throw them in. And then we have our grass-fed buffalo for this chili too. Something that I learned is that buffalo or bison is super lean, and when I was talking to the guy, the rancher that I bought this from, I asked him if it's pretty similar to venison, and he said yeah, absolutely. So I'm not even gonna worry about draining off the fat because there will be barely any in there. If this was beef, I probably would because it's just so fatty, but like I said, this is similar to venison, super lean. I'm not even gonna worry about it. Alright, here's what's happening right now. Chris is taking that big flat of tomatoes and he is cutting them in half, coring them out, and then he's just putting it in a blender so that we don't have to sit and dice tons of tomatoes for this. And actually I want to thank the person that commented on our last canning video, and she was like, hey, we just put it in the blender and then it takes all of that work out of it. And both Chris and I were like, yeah, that makes sense. So that is what we were doing, and it is working so great.
Oops.
Here's what's going in the chili. Onions, bison, blended tomatoes, tomato paste, pinto beans, kidney beans, black beans, and some spices. He's always there for a bit of a rough time figuring the pressure canner out. We were kind of mixing up some steps and we realized we had to take it off and make sure the jars were staggered and a bunch of different stuff. But we haven't figured out. We feel super solid about it. Right now we're letting it vent for 10 minutes. And then we're gonna put the pressure gauge on or the weighted gauge on, and then actually start the time to pressure can our chili.
Ready?
Yeah.
This is all like, you don't want to mess up.
Yeah. While we do that, I'm going to take care of one last thing for the evening. I bought this huge bunch of beautiful basil at the farmer's market, and so I'm going to turn that into pesto.
Wish that I could stay, wish for this moment to never go away. But it's all in my mind, and though I know that there is nothing to find, you're a beautiful sight in the summer night, and you can't put up a fight in the misty light.
What do you think?
Really good.
All you can see, thinking about what you're likely to be.
All right, I just made my first batch. This is probably half of what I'll get. So I'll probably do one more batch about this size. And what I'm doing with this is I'm gonna put it in these ice cube trays and freeze it overnight. There'll be little cubes of pesto. I'll throw them in a Ziploc bag and we'll freeze them. That way, in the winter, we can just cook with little cubes of basil pesto. We don't have to worry about refrigerating it per se, or having space to freeze a whole jar and then get frozen pesto. It's just easier this way. So that is what I'm doing. Hi, little girl. It's getting dark, so it's kind of tough to film, but I'm going to make pesto out of the rest of that basil. Chris has been like on top of the pressure canner, making sure that the weighted gauge is making the right amount of jiggles within the minute and all that stuff. So he's on that. I'm gonna finish this up. I'll show you guys the finished canned chili tomorrow. I'm just gonna bust out this pesto and then relax a little bit. So I'll see you in the morning. This day has felt super productive and it's been really fun.
Good morning. The chili is done and it's so exciting. And we figured out a lot yesterday, learned a lot, and hopefully today is going to go a little smoother. I really need my coffee. Actually, I really need to get this chicken stock going. Chicken stock, then coffee.
Good stuff.
Okay, so I'm getting started on the stock right away, like even before my coffee. Instead of using the new onions that we got, I'm gonna use this old onion that really needs to be used. Old or veggies or scraps is great for stock. So I currently have 2 full chickens in water. I am going to throw in a bunch of root vegetables, garlic, and some herbs. And that is what my stock is going to be. I'm going to leave these in big chunks so it's not a whole lot of work. And then this is going to sit, it's going to simmer, not boil, for a few hours. And then we'll go from there. I also have to clean these chili jars and label them.
One of our awesome little ready-made meals. Got some dog hair on it from my rack here, but
Looks so good.
looks so good.
I so often get people asking me where I get my beans from. This is the bean mixture that I get for my soups. It's just 15 bean soup. I think it comes with like a seasoning packet. I usually don't use that because I'll just take like a half a cup of beans whenever I want them, and then I'll soak them and use them in whatever soup I'm making for the day. While the chicken stock is doing its thing and the chickens are cooking, I'm going to get these in water so that they can soak throughout the day. The only issue is that A, they're thawing fast in my freezer towards the front, kind of where some of these were. Oh, there's a good frozen one. Doesn't freeze super great. So that's kind of the only issue with this that I've run into with my particular situation. But it'll be easier than having it frozen in a jar. Chris and I are working away, and Akela has just been sleeping and chasing flies and enjoying these fresh washed sheets. Oh my god. How does this even happen? Like, nothing is cuter than this. Look at these toes. Look at these ears. Oh my goodness. You know it, don't you? Alright everybody, here's the finished stock. Look at that. The chicken is literally falling apart and these veggies are perfect. Babe, look at how good the stock is.
I know, it looks awesome.
Alright, I just drained the beans. They look so good. And I'm really not too concerned about having these cooked all the way through. Like, I'm not going to be cooking the soup fully because they're going to finish cooking in the pressure canner. So here's the next big task that I'm going to be working on right now. Basically, I'm straining everything out of the stock. Here's a little trick that my dad used to do with some of the really good root vegetables in there. He would process those down, basically turn those into the stock. So I'm going to take this blender and just puree those really soft root vegetables, and that's just going to be even more flavor and nutrients in that stock. And then we're going to work on pulling all of this meat off of our chickens.
It's crazy. Like how it just all falls apart like that.
Mm-hmm. How good these look. It was pretty convenient to take a little break and work out because we still had 4 jars of chili from last night and we had those in the fridge overnight. So during the time that we were working out, the chili was in this warm water bath, just getting back to a neutral temperature so that everything would be warm enough to can. So we're back at it, and now we're gonna pressure can some of our chicken soup along with the chili from last night. And the best part about making this big batch of homemade chicken soup is that we got to enjoy it that night for dinner and try it out, and we are really excited to have this during our winter in the Northwoods. Woo! Oh, it looks so good! Beautiful.
Here we go. How they looking? They all seal?
Good, yeah. Wow, what a week. I actually just got back from Gutted. So if you don't know what Gutted is, it basically is this challenge that is filmed and made into a TV show. 3 rigs are gutted and then built out in 5 days. There's a van, a school bus, and an RV, and this year was super fun, really unique builds. Right after those few days of canning, I hopped in the van with the dogs, went up and spent a few days at Gutted.
8, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now I'm back home again, and it feels really good. So, super busy week, but holy cow, did we get a lot done. A very common question has been, where are you storing all of this canned food? And Chris recently went through his bus and cleared out everything that we're not going to need for the winter, and that allowed a ton of space to be available underneath his bed. We are going to store all of these canned items without the rings on it. Even though we did a lot of work and we do have a lot of stored food, there's still a lot more to go. The goal is to be settled in by the end of November, so we do still have some time to prepare more food and different methods of food preservation. But for now, we're really happy with what we've done, and especially with what we've learned. Akela and I have a few long days of travel this week. We are headed back up to Wisconsin, so Akela gets to see all of her family, her grandma, her uncles, everybody that she loves, and up there we will be doing even more prep. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you are interested in continuing this journey with us, and Akela and I will see you next week.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun.